Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector. And for those of you who don't know, I not only collect video games, but I also have collected sneakers. But right now, I'm in a process where I'm doing a massive downsizing before the end of 2025. And it's for a lot of reasons that I'll get into in a later video. But I really kind of just wanted to talk about something that I find very confusing because these are very confusing times right now. And I figured it would just be kind of interesting to talk about, especially after the day I've had. I've had a really long day. Um, but again, I'll share more in a later video. What I'm confused about right now is what's happening with the collector economy, the consumer economy, and then the overall just broader economy. And I'll tell you what I mean. When you read the news and the headlines, like in major media outlets, what you'll hear is that the economy is doing great, the stock market is doing well. We've got this massive corporate AI bubble that's building where these AI companies are just getting these billion-dollar valuations. Trillions of dollars are being pumped into this next gen technology. And you hear that side. When you look on social media, you'll see a very conflicting story about thousands of layoffs, in fact, millions of layoffs, people losing their jobs, people not able to afford rent, people worried about being kicked off Section 8, just, the price of groceries. You hear a completely different story on social media. And then if you look in another media outlet, you'll hear how spending is down and people aren't spending as much, and the economy isn't doing well. But then you have a day like today where a pair of sneakers released today, a pair of Jordan 11s. For those of you who don't know, usually this time of year, around Christmas every year, Nike will release a pair of Air Jordan 11s in some variation, in some colorway. The Space Jams, the Cool Grays, I think a couple years ago was the Gratitudes, the Breads. This year they re-released a pair of Jordan 11s that came out back in 2013, and those were the Gammas, the Gamma Blue 11s. And that's not what's important. What's important is the fact that there were lines all over the country, in malls all over the country, where people were lining up to get these sneakers. These sneakers sold out online in a matter of minutes, and it wasn't a low stock number of these sneakers. There were over 150,000 pairs of these sneakers in adult sizes alone, I think, and just in men's. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but it was in the over 100,000s of these shoes that instantly sold out. And I find when you take all of this information in, what you're seeing, when I'm out and about in the streets, there are, tons of people out shopping, buying stuff. And, what I see out on the road, what I hear in the news, and what I see in social media tell very conflicting stories. And ultimately, this is what I think. This is what I think is going on, and this is what I think is going to happen. I think that there is a portion of the economy that is in a tough spot. I do think that I know that there have been hundreds of thousands of people who have been laid off this year, whether it was, due to corporate restructurings, whether it was because of the government shutdown, whether it was because of just, companies not making enough money. There have been a lot of layoffs. And I think who that impacts the most is, I think it impacts the general consumer, not the consumer that's purchasing stuff to resell it, not the consumer that buys things as an investment, but just the general regular end consumer, the person who's going to buy something to consume it, to use it until it is gone or no longer of any use. I think that buyer, that person in the economic structure, I think is taking a bit of a hit. I think on the flip side of that, though, there are economies built around things like video games, like sneakers. And for the people who still are uh, participants in that economy, via resellers, people who resell, people who buy these things and even just sit on them and hold them. I think there are people who are buying sneakers, who are buying Pokemon cards, who are buying video games, who are buying clothes or anything that has value. I think there is a group of people who are buying these things to flip them, sell them, hold them, or whatever. And then I think that there is just that still that majority, right? The majority of the economy is still doing okay. Majority of people still have some type of job. They still are working. They can still spend money on stuff. Do I think that a lot of people are where they want to be financially? No. I think there is a little bit of a struggle there, but I think that there is a bit of there's kind of like there's a conflict between what's really happening and what's being reported. And I think what's happening is that generally, like, people who are into investments, economists, people who are looking out into the future, usually they make moves for the things that will happen 6 months to 12 months from now, right? So investors who see the direction that the economy is going, who's looking at the jobs reports, who have a close ear to the street when it comes to the way companies are moving, who understand where the job market's going to go, they usually have a closer ear to the street on that. And they're able to make moves prior to, you know, just like I said, 6 to 12 months before everyone else does. That's what makes investors great, right? That's why they make so much money, because they're constantly forward looking. I think that there are a lot of people, as we wind down with 2025, I think there are a lot of people that don't realize the position that they're in, or their level of vulnerability to what could be coming in the future. I've talked about AI on this channel in the past before, and I've said that I think AI is going to have a big impact on the economy. I think it's going to have a big impact on the job market. I don't think I don't think AI will replace workers yet, because I think that most companies don't have the workflows that are optimized for AI to come in and replace workers, meaning that most companies are very fragmented and disjointed. They have departments that operate within silos, and there really isn't a seamless workflow between departments that would enable a meaningful application of artificial intelligence at a large scale, right? Like, you might have one organization that uses AI in one way, and you might have another department that uses AI in one way, but at a macro level, most companies can't apply an agentic AI formula to the entire company until they optimize the entire workflow within the company. And that's going to take massive corporate restructuring, which is what you're seeing happen in corporations today. And I think that's a big part of the reason why it's happening in corporations today. They're restructuring so that agentic AI can be implemented. And I think that's why you probably won't see AI take jobs, next year, maybe not even the year after. But I could see within like 2 years, artificial intelligence really stepping in and taking over. But I'm going off on a tangent. I'm saying all that to say that most people, I would say, or even if you don't want to say most people, I would say 40% of the employment workforce is going to be vulnerable to these things. And I think that they won't know it until they're impacted, until they get that phone call and they hear you no longer have a job. And at that point, people are going to be scrambling, trying to uh, either find another job or sort themselves out. And this takes me back to where I'm at today, where it's like, okay, why are people spending so much? Why is all this spending going on? And I think it's because people still have a little bit of this like wealth effect that came in 2025. And I don't think a lot of people realize like where we're at. I think 2026 is going to be a very interesting year. I know for me, I'm taking steps to launch a few business ventures, which is why you're going to see some big changes on the channel. Um, and it's also part of the reason why I don't have the camera aimed at a video game right now, but more will come on that. I'll talk more about that in a later video. But I just thought that this was just really interesting. And, specifically when it comes to the collector economy, the hobby economy, I think we're going to see some changes in that economy too. I think we really are in the next few years. Like I said, maybe not in 2026, but I would definitely say at some point in 2027, we're going to feel the effects of what's happening right now. And just keep this in mind. Warren Buffett, I think, and I know this isn't an investment channel. I don't claim to be a big investment guy, but I do have investments. And I do know that Warren Buffett, I think Berkshire Hathaway has like a 27% cash position right now. I think they're holding like 300 or like over $330 billion in cash. And I think Berkshire Hathaway normally only carries like 13% in cash. Um, so, like 27% of their portfolio or something like that is being held in cash, which is a big deal. That tells me that to a degree, in the next 6 to 12 months, you want to be liquid for what's coming. So, yeah, I mean, collecting is cool. Having stuff is cool. I'm a big fan of stuff. These are some Fear of Gods that I've got here. These are some of the original Fear of Gods that came out a while back. I think Jerry Lorenzo, he's obviously the creator of Fear of God. And I think he started his journey off with Nike, and then he went to Adidas, and I think his contract is almost up with Adidas. Um, and he has this whole motif. I bought these like a few years back, and I don't even think I've ever worn these. Maybe I've worn them once. These are some of the most uncomfortable sneakers I've ever owned. These Fear of God sneakers. I don't know. Maybe I should have got them like in a few sizes bigger. I don't know, but these things are uncomfortable. So I don't even know if I've worn them. Maybe I've tried them on. I don't even think I've worn these. But yeah, these gotta go because I don't think I'm gonna be wearing these anytime soon. But yeah, anyway, guys, let me know what you think. I know this was a little bit of a ramble here. It's just been a really long day. I wanted to make a video, didn't get a chance to really put one together, but I did want to tap in with the Y2K crew. It's been just a very, very busy time of year. But you guys let me know what you think about what you're seeing out there. Do you think the economy's in a good place? Do you think it's in a bad place? Do you think there's nothing to worry about? Do you think we can just keep spending and spending like there's no tomorrow? Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.